Well, I just wanted to ask you why you have been so welcoming to NBMA, and
So
your thoughts on diversity in marathoning.
we made a commitment back in 2012, our board, with my help. And I work for the board, but they certainly needed somebody to be the person to do the work on it. And we made a commitment. We looked at the numbers, and it's sad. There are a lot of people that look like me, and that's all well and good, but there's not a lot of diversity. And statistically, 1% to 2% maybe of the marathoning, the long distance running, are African American. Sure, the Africans are winning, but that doesn't represent our country. That doesn't represent really any realistic people except for these super elite guys that can go that fast.
Right.
So it was one of those times where our board said, let's do something. Let's make a change. And it's funny because at the time we had no black board members. We got a black board member, Bruce Wimbish, and we put together a committee of diversity. And it was myself and the chairman of the board, who's also white, and we pulled together Bruce and some other African Americans who were runners. We asked people, hey, or we know people, who were black who ran, and we're like, would you sit down on the committee with us? And we asked them, what can we do? And we learned about hair. The women told us about hair, and how it's a challenge. A lot of African American women, the money that gets spent on their hair, they're not about to go out and get all sweaty and all that. And they laughed about it and they were all fun about it. But the realities are, we didn't know what we didn't know, and it was just, how are you going to get people there if you're not open and inclusive to get people there? So we had, the committee. Really, the results of the committee. We actually had two committees. 2012. Today, on this day, Saturday before the race, so I didn't have anything else to do, but it was important to us. So we sat down on the Saturday before the 2012 marathon and the 2013 marathon and had those committees and asked people, what do we need to do? And it came out of it, we need to own an event. And we don't want to say marathon because that's a bad word for many people except those of us who run marathons. And what can we do to be open and inclusive and also do something that's fair and fun with people? And then what kind of branding can we do? Well, we're very fortunate here in Central Ohio. Jesse Owens happened to go to college here. He set world records in college at Ohio State.
Yeah.
He's from Cleveland. He's from Ohio. So all of a sudden, we're like, well, there's an idea. Let's do a Jesse Owens tribute. And from there, we came up with the idea of, we don't want to call it a marathon, but let's do it, relate it to the marathon. 2.62 miles. So I went out 2.62 miles from here because we had moved our start line down here, and I got close enough, started getting closer and closer. I said, well, shoot, we can put it up at the Urban League and the King's Center. So the first year was actually, we promoted it more at the Urban League, which is across the street from the King's Center, but we actually started exactly where we started today, at the King's Center.
Yeah.
This year we started and we promoted it as the King's Center, and then from there we had a race, had a distance, and it was great. So last year we had about 150 to 200 people, but we also had a very cold day. Oh my gosh, it was blustery, cold, windy, no rain, but it might as well have been raining. And that affected attendance. Plus it was our first year. And we were pleased, but we knew we could do better. So this year we partnered with the African American Male Wellness Walk, which is here. It was started in Columbus, and it's, I think, the 10th anniversary. It's a nationwide event now. And that's in August. We also have the UNCF walk here in September, so we partnered with them. So now we're starting to form a trifecta of events focusing on diversity. African American in August, UNCF in September, and now this event in October. And it's just a real nice thing. But it's like anything. It takes marketing, it takes effort, and we focused a lot of work on it.
Yes.
The marathon made a pretty big commitment to bring the National Black Marathoners here. It costs money, we get that. We made it's a sponsorship partnership. We stepped up, paid that fee. We made the scholarship to Tony last night. We are working the best we can to be good friends to the group because we felt it was important. So that's it. There's nothing more to it than the only thing that's interesting is we don't promote it to our regular audience. We include it in one newsletter. I write the newsletter, and we include it in one. We have it every other week. It's every month. It's once a month throughout the year until we get to July. Then it's twice a year. Then twice in August. Then 3 in September. Then every week in October. So the very last issue we mentioned the Jesse Owens jog because we don't want a bunch of white people there. And I say that because I've been to the Freedom in Boston, and there's a lot of neurotic runners there who are trying to get in their last miles. They get 15,000 people. We don't want that because we could do that. We got a lot of neurotic people here, black and white. But we don't want them all here. We want this to be an event focused on the African American health and wellness. It benefits Nationwide Children's Hospital's mortality, infant mortality efforts. It benefits the Urban League, and it benefits the King Arts Complex. And this year it benefited the National Black Marathoners. So, you gotta want to do it. Explaining why we do this is any more explaining why we're so heavily involved with Nationwide Children's Hospital. Well, I don't even have kids. My wife and I tried to have kids and we couldn't, but I still believe in the hospital. So there doesn't have to be a reason sometimes. It's because it's the right thing to do. It's just the right thing to do.
Now, you were mentioning that you've worked with the Avondale Running Club out of Cincinnati.
Only through when I met them in Dallas, and I know they came here because they're through Tony, and they're close. Obviously Cincinnati's less than 2 hours away, so they're bringing up a group for the race. So that's the relationship I have. I mean, I've reached out, but really through Tony. But we certainly, as Ohio's largest marathon, we're certainly always working to do new things to. We're the capital city, but we're also the largest, and we just feel a responsibility to be the best.
And any thoughts on teams like Avondale or like Team Marathon? You mentioned that you're hoping to get in touch with Team Marathon. I can actually they'll be at the dinner actually.
Good.
And I can introduce you. But any thoughts on these sorts of teams?
I think they're fantastic.
Both of those have been around for about 30 years.
So no, I actually helped to form a marathon training team here in Columbus back in 2000. So. That's just for everybody. But the point is, that's the whole point of this this running boom is not because of people trying to go fast. It's to have fun. It's social. It's sure you can still go as fast as you can, but there's an element of community that we're now seeing where whether it's one of these organizations or it's a general organization of training groups or whatever, it's all so important. I want to see more of those. I mean, Black Girls Run is great. I mean, I hope that other actually we have a guy here who's creating Black Men Run. I don't know if it's a national group or just a Columbus group, but he's got that going.
They really are on the ball. I mean, they've got their own app now. And
so that's great. So the more that this can continue to keep this sport going for everybody, It's sort of why we do the kids run. If you want to look at it in that way, you get people interested. Whether you get little kids and you teach them, or you get people off the couch and you teach them a better way to health and wellness. It's all the same. Get people out there and keep them energized and motivated.
Anything that we haven't touched on that you think is important about diversity and running?
No, I'll be honest. It's other races. It's very easy. You don't even know what my days are like when it comes to this race in terms of I haven't slept very well in weeks, and I'm sure not going to sleep well tonight, the night before the race. But that's the business, and other races need to step up if they're serious about their longevity and their health and wellness as an event. Is you got to be open to everything, because people are going to pass you by, and they may do your race in your hometown, their hometown, or maybe because they've been somewhere. But if it's not a good event that takes care of things and makes it a great event, then they're going to go by the wayside. It takes a lot more work now than ever because we compete with. I call it the Starbucks phenomenon. Everybody goes to Starbucks now and they get a coffee, and then they go to their local coffee shop where they used to get a 50-cent cup of coffee, and they expect it to be like Starbucks. So everybody, whether they're running races or going to a store or going to a restaurant, the service level is so high, and if we don't deliver a high level of service, we're going to hurt just like a restaurant that goes out of business because people weren't treated well.
Yeah.
It's the dynamic we have.